Peace YouTube. This is FleurBrun coming to you today, April Fool's Day. Peace to the east, the west, the north, and the south. Uh, I hope you guys can see me. I had to put the headphones in. I don't have a lot of battery life because I'm out and about. But check on it. Can you guys hear me okay? Put a 13 in the boxes if you can hear me okay. Hola. Hey, Bon Noble. Hola, mamitas. Bon tage. Bonjour. Ça passe. Konnichiwa. Salam alaikum. Aloha. Okay, you guys can hear me okay. So, checking on, and I did have another live scheduled. Hey, shalom, Yafi. I have another. I did actually have another live scheduled, but they deleted it, like they always do. They kicked me off of IG last night. Big up to all who were on IG. Hey, Selma. Everyone who was on IG. Hey, 44. I was on IG at like 3 o'clock in the morning because the cosmic radiation was off the charts. Hey, Libra. Were you guys on? Yeah, I was on. We were actually on live last night on IG, but they kicked me off because I started talking about prepper stuff and bam, went down. And then they deleted my live for today. So, yeah, the cosmic radiation was off the charts. And if you're feeling anyway, it's just because there isn't any looking tan. Listen, I'm outdoors. Quarantine is working out well. Everybody's out in Florida. If you thought there was quarantine, y'all need to go outside because when you see how many people are walking around, you be like, what the ticka, ticka? Anyway, so a lot is occurring. And oh, let me just state the radio. I was going to make a live and they deleted it because if anybody didn't know, my last live, you can see the rainbow all over me. I'll put the posted pictures on Instagram. I had all over, some of you couldn't even access my last live. The rainbow energy was all over me, glitching out. You know, I'm sure there'll be 50 million videos talking about me shapeshifting into a rainbow being. Anyway, so there's cosmic radiation. Remember, we have a lot of incoming radiation coming in. Remember, a lot of people in Idaho had felt the 6.5 earthquake yesterday, which is because, you know, I've said it before, Yellowstone is on and popping. Yellowstone is about to blow. And once Yellowstone blows, it's on. So they had an earthquake. Nigeria had a meteor that actually impacted and created a crater, a huge crater. There's a lot of debris coming from our galactic. I don't want, you know, from out there, okay, in space, whatever you consider. So there's a lot going on. So just know, if you can't sleep, especially those who have a tendency to absorb radiation really well, you will feel buzzing in your body, your abilities. I will make a video on the abilities, okay? The abilities right now are coming online. Your X-man, X-woman factor are now awakening. Last night it was dark and I could see in the darkness and I could hear things from the other side of the house. So your ability should be on as well. So sleeping, whenever you get a lot of radiation, especially solar radiation coming from the galactic center, it's going to cause you to energize. It kind of energizes yourself. Hey, Sensei. So I couldn't sleep. So we were up all night. I haven't slept for almost like 3 days now. Maybe like 4 hours in 3 days because all that radiation, your body's buzzing, your hands are buzzing, your feet. So be mindful. I was going to make a video about it. They deleted it. It was called 5G. I'll raise your 5G and match you cosmic radiation. The celestial chemotherapy of cancer. They deleted it. I called it I called it the Kundalini chemotherapy of cancer. Yeah, they deleted it. It is what it is. You know, I just try to get about. I try to get before them but sometimes they won't let me do it. So it is what it is. Some people are supposed to get that information, some people not. I'm not going to discuss it now. In about 3 days, when all this radiation kind of kicks up a little bit, we'll discuss it. So be mindful to make sure you aren't misrepresenting Sanct G for cosmic radiation that's here. And if you think I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, just look at the seismic activity globally and look at all the impacts of all these meteors coming in, because you know that comet's coming. I told you for homework you were supposed to watch Night of the Comet. Told you this like 2 weeks ago. Okay. So anyway, let's get in a conversation about the misinformation, misinformation agents. Okay. You have a host of misinformation agents, and they're all on YouTube. YouTube is the biggest hub of divisive, implanted agents of controlled opposition. They were setting this up. I think many of you saw the video I gave you a while ago where it was like 1970s. Some of the some of the women that were deprogrammed out of these Satanist programs were talking about they were going to purposefully implant people into so-called love and light community. And also because they knew that the awakening of going into the new cycle would do a certain kind of awakening when you're entering the age of Aquarius. All the truth has to come out. So rather than they have people naturally wake up, they wanted to implant, they disseminated controlled opposition beings inside of many different spectrums of what you consider to be spirituality. Okay. So it isn't just in the love and light community. It's all in the conscious community. 99% of the conscious community, the pseudo conscious community, is all, diversive implants, agents that they give you truth. Let me state this. A lot of people say, well, FleurBrun, that's going too far. You're saying 99%. Listen, I would question anybody who's been locked up and for murder charges and then got released, because chances are they took a plea deal and then they come out of jail and prison system and then all of a sudden they're conscious. So they're and be careful people coming from other necks. If somebody was talking about makeup tutorials or hair tutorials and all of a sudden they're coming into the spiritualist community, that's also a detail that they are the controlled opposition. Okay, people will say, that's very judgmental. It isn't. If it talks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And if somebody is naturally spiritually connected, they would always show up that way. They're not going to just show up that way because they're evolving. They would show up that way previously. So if somebody was a thought bot 3 or 4 years ago and all of a sudden they're spiritual, chances are they are controlled opposition, and also maybe even by default, because YouTube started paying people. And once YouTube started to pay people, that's when you have to be careful. Okay, because when someone's getting a check, we've talked about this before. If someone's getting paid and that's the only reason they're here, chances are they're a Smith. Okay, because back in the days when we all joined YouTube, there wasn't any checks being distributed. When I was talking about ETs and disclosure and getting on Carrie Cassidy, they cut me off. Listen, fam, listen. When I speak truth, they just cut me off. Listen to me, family. They just kicked me off. Let me be controlled. So can't stop, won't stop. That tells you that I'm speaking truth. Why would you cut me off, YouTube? You cut me off IG last night, and now you cut me off now because I'm telling the truth. That's why FleurBrun doesn't get invited to conferences. That's why people won't come to my conferences who are fake. Okay? When people aren't real, they can't come in the midst because my people can call it all out. So if you can't be around me physically and come to events that I do, chances are you're the problem. So the controlled opposition is all over YouTube. And if they are being distributed a check, you could tell somebody's real if they give information for you for free, or you always have to pay for it. Okay? Do you have to pay to go to secret squirrel groups and do things privately? Okay? So back in the days, like I said, when we all first came on YouTube, there weren't advertisements. There weren't money-making schemes. You came on and you dispersed your information as is. A lot of intels died back then. If you remember, back when YouTube first came out, there wasn't many people on here, and a lot of the true intellists are dead or their platforms were totally demolished. Okay? So I'm just saying, family, watch what you listen to. All of this giving information and intel from Q. Q is a bunch of a whole bunch of individuals that are utilizing that way to disperse some information. Now, Q says some truth, but Q is also part of the controlled opposition. Because look who references Q all the time. Listen, I wouldn't think Q was dirty if I didn't know that David Wilcock was using that as a reference point. David Wilcock is the biggest implant agent. He is a hybrid. He was purposefully created. This is my opinion. Listen, let me state this again. This is my opinion. David Wilcock is a hybrid that was created by and engineered by Willy Wonka and is eugenic specialist. That's why he's on Ancient Aliens. That's why he has these huge platforms talking about aliens. He didn't even acknowledge it was brown aliens. When we know for a fact that the cosmic family comes melanated coming to the planet. There's more melanated extraterrestrials than there is any other because of the gamma radiation. And you're going to tell me he isn't an agent of misinformation and a lot of his reference points are Q? Am I loud? I'm sorry. I don't mean to yell at you. I'm just saying, family, listen, if you think what I'm saying is fake, check out people's resume. See where they came from. Who's their reference point? If I can't check you, if I can't reference you, chances are you're an agent. Q is giving some, listen, family, I didn't say Q isn't giving some relative and relatable information that's intel, but that's how they get into you. They give you some truth to catch you in, like a lure. They can't give you lies initially, and they can't give you overt, questionable information and intel. They gotta lure you in with some goodies. I'm not going to come to you unless you got some coffee, you got some residue that relates, is interrelatable to the things that I rock with. So you have to give me some good lures for me to pull me in. And then when you pull me in and then I let my guard down, bam, I can disseminate all kinds of misinformation and confusion in you so that you rock with the agenda. They're all agenda based, family. Listen, I'm fearless. There isn't any puppets. There isn't any man attached to me. There isn't any check attached to me. When I'm on YouTube, there isn't any check that I was on YouTube before checks were distributed. YouTube isn't paying my mortgage. YouTube isn't paying for my coffee. Okay, so watch when you rock with these people who are coming from other sects, who are utilizing YouTube as a way to engineer fiat. Okay, especially if they come from another sect that isn't, that's really shallow, or they're based in just doing what's popular at the time. All of a sudden, astrology is really popular, so a lot of people are into astrology now. Before, what was popular? The Pelagians was popular, so people will go into Pelagian. Card readers is popular, so people go into the algorithm. What else? Whatever is engineering an interest in the main populace, whatever's trending, that's what they'll jump into. So you always can check the mic with people by looking into their past. What was that person representing 3 years ago? David Wilcock has always been a part of this quote unquote extraterrestrial community, but he's always been linked to agencies of agenda. Once you're on Ancient Aliens, I couldn't trust anything you do. Ancient Aliens is incepted by the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is all involved in all the extraterrestrial. That's why all of their conferences, they all generate a... See, my battery's dying already. They generate a lot of lucrative sponsors. But why? Because if you're talking about extraterrestrials, remember we had, what's his name, that used to be boofed on, what's his name? Oh gosh, I forgot his name. He used to be on Howard Stern. What's his name? The brown gentleman was like a cowboy. He was talking about he was in contact with extraterrestrials and they would laugh at him all the time. They would always make jokes about him. Remember him? I forgot his name. Oh, I forgot. Some of you know. What's his name? I forgot. I don't have that much time on here, family, so my battery's dying. No, Beetlejuice isn't. Rick, oh, Riley Martin. Thank you, my love. This'll got it. Riley Martin. They would make jokes about him, talk about him. Anyone who's in contact with specific extraterrestrials that are not in bed with your Willy Wonka, they are boofed. They are talked about. They aren't legitimized. That's why I say with the whole Pelagian thing, be careful, family, because that's a psyop. There are Pelagians that exist, but when you talk about Pelagians, you get an image that's opposite of what the Pelagians' physicality originally looked like. They look like the Aboriginal. Take a picture of a native Aboriginal, real blue, black. I say black, just, really melanated. And they're associated with the Cherokee. Very sharp cheekbones, very copper, dark skin, dark hair. That's the Pelagian seeds. Why do the Pelagians, when you look online for extraterrestrials, why do they look total opposite of those indigenous? Because it's a psyop. It's the same thing as colonization. The colonization that's occurred on the planet happens geographically and happens with every genre that has some good intel that can lift you out of your sleep. So whenever you look at things like that, remember, before when you go in certain cultures, look at the culture before colonization. Look at the culture before colonization. You got to be careful. So a lot of times when you listen to these beings, Pelagians are legitimate. I have already legitimized they exist. So let me state this for everybody on here. The Pelagians do exist. But a lot of people who are fronting that narrative are mentally ill. They will tell you that they're blowing up bases. That's crazy. They're blowing up bases. They're going to places. A lot of these people have wonderful imaginations. Contactees aren't that detailed. And a lot of times it's very splintered in how you remember your occurrences. Because when you come in contact with any sort of celestial or extraterrestrial, there is a field that disallows from you holding that information. And also you go through I love that, Barry used to say you have temporal aphasia. So, and also physically, it messes with your biosphere because they're so out of our dimension, they're not matching us. So generally you won't have physical contact unless you have a heightened amount of their own imprint, their own DNA. Okay? Some people have in the etheric realms, but when you have people making several thousands of dollars creating information on galactics because people require hope. Listen, a lot of people who come into the extraterrestrial community are people that are, misfits and are looking for something outside of outside of the spectrum of what we're dealing with on a regular basis. My phone is going to die. I don't want to take my thing out. I hate when I come on so late. I'm sorry. And I got to use the headphones. It's going to be a little white noise. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm going to take the headphones out for a minute because I got to charge it. Because if I don't, this will end. So I'm just going to plug it in. You're going to hear a little white noise. For some reason, it's been doing that for the last several weeks. So do forgive me. Hopefully you can hear me. Okay. Okay. Now let me know if you can hear me, family. I know it's going to be a little difficult. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? Put a 13 if you can hear me. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. And let me state this. Let me put a PSA. I'm not discounting people who have great intel who are contactees. There's a lot of contactees. And I'm not saying that Wilcock isn't in contact with beings. All I'm saying is he is part of the controlled opposition and he was implanted as a hybrid. If you think I'm joking, look at David Wilcock and tell me he isn't an implant. He looks like a Martian. Oh, thank you, Purple Goddess. I appreciate it. And he was hybrid to look like the sleeping prophet. He says that he's a reincarnation of Edgar Casey. He isn't. He doesn't have the soul imprint of Edgar Casey. But you see what they do? Willy Wonka will hybridize people to look like someone you trust so that you let them in easier. Willy Wonka's been doing this for over 50 years, family. There isn't anything new under the sun. So at this point, I'm just saying, family, be mindful of galactic, especially galactic information. There are a lot of celestials that are interceding and interacting with their own and with some of Willy Wonka's people. Roosevelt, if you want to look up the story, it's very fascinating. Your President Roosevelt was in contact. He had contact with extraterrestrials, celestials, whatever you want to call them. Also, you know that Hitler was in contact with a group of future beings from another dimension, a future dimension, where they came in and gave him an exchange of technology for information. Okay? So this does happen. I won't say any different. But myself as a contactee who's always been a contactee, who's always been legitimately connected to the celestial realm, the reason why my information comes as it does is because it's real. I don't have to get contact with extraterrestrials every day. When I do certain information, I keep to myself because that's personal information, but others I dispense. But best believe that most of the extraterrestrial and interterrestrial information isn't what is being promoted out so freely. They down my channel. Listen, people get unsubscribed at least 50% of the time. They take off my feed. They take off my feed every day. If I am such a liar, or I am part of the misinformation, then why would they try so hard to suppress my channel and keep information from coming to you guys? I'm only talking to a small niche, and I'll only speak to my own. I'm not promoting it to people. You won't ever see FleurBrun promoting her channel, because that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here for that. I'm here to share with those who are in the same frequency. It's always been the case, and you can vet me out by going back into my past and see how I came on YouTube. There hasn't been anything new under the sun. I've lived in the same house. I've had the same truck. I've had the same children. I've had the same narrative all this time. I'm a regular person. I'm not wearing tutorials and makeup every day to come on and disinform and to enchant you. This is how I wake up. Is this how I look when I go to sleep? And I'm going to look like this when I wake up, if you're okay with that. Be careful of all these controlled opposition beings being disseminating information to put you in the quote-unquote no, but it's to gear you in a certain direction. It's to herd you. Q has information that's relative, but Q has several different beings backing it. Q isn't just one individual, it's several. And Q shouldn't be referenced as a viable source because Q is too popular. Q is too utilized by agents. So when an agent, this is how I vet things out. When an agent is referencing something, I won't take that information as valid. I know, me personally, it's my opinion that David Wilcock is a inserted hybrid agent. This is my opinion. I've always remained that way. Because I know that he is, I also know that anything that he references to regularly, I take it out of validity. I know that he's being steered in a certain direction, and his narrative will gear people to personally take that information and go in a certain direction. Anything that David Wilcock says, I listen, I discern it, I decode it, and I throw it in the archives. And if David Wilcock said, run away, there's something coming tomorrow, I would take it as a smoke signal, and I would listen to it, and then I would just look. I wouldn't believe him, and I wouldn't do anything he told me to do. Like I said, my personal opinion is that 99% of all people on YouTube now, not back in the days. Back in the days, listen, a lot of the back in the days channels are gone. They're gone. A lot of them are gone. And I would be gone too if I didn't keep to my business, if I didn't keep in my lane. I keep in my lane, and I'm a mommy. So a lot of times why I'm still here is because I've kept a very consistent life. I stay to myself. I don't really get involved with too many people. I vet people out based on their children. This is how I get down. The people that I trust the most is people that I can see their children and their family. I'm an old school Caribbean woman, and how we vet you out is through your family. So if I can see your family dynamics and where you came from, then I can trust certain aspects of you. Maybe that's just old school. Maybe because I'm just an island girl, and I come from a small town in Mount Vernon. That's my mother was a teacher, and it was a small town. So how we knew you is how your family showed up. So a lot of times, if I can't vet you out that way, that's why I invite people to meet me all the time. If I want to really know you, I'll invite you to meet me, because I'm gonna come as this. That's all. But I'm just saying, family, be careful listening to these Qists. I'm not saying Q isn't telling some of the truth, but Q is not one individual, it's several. And which one is the truth? It's like, how do you know which demon is going to show up today? How do you know? And why is David Wilcock totally utilizing that as his reference point? Why is David Wilcock? And you don't have to agree with me, because some of you like Wilcock, but Wilcock in my world is a straight up inserted agent, hybrid. He's a hybrid by the Willy Wonka. That's my personal opinion. That won't change, because I've seen him, and I've seen he doesn't shapeshift. He does not shapeshift. I'm not saying he's a shapeshifter. He's a hybrid. That's why his head is distorted. He looks a little like a gray. I'm just saying, so be careful utilizing and referencing controlled opposition beings, because they are all in, everything is in the pie right now. We got a goulash and we got a jambalaya going on, and sometimes you're going to get things in the jambalaya that may not work well, but basically it's a pot full of a lot of different information. Now, I won't say you should listen to my information, because you know what I'll tell you every time? What did I tell you every time, family? Vet me out. I tell you every single time. If you think FleurBrun is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, the one thing you will always hear come out of my mouth, and it will always be, is vet things out. If you hear me say something and you want to verify it, you have a whole lot of resources to be able to verify anything I share with you. Vet it out every single time. Anybody who gives you information, vet it out. And be careful of bookitarians. Bookitarians are people who read books all day. They don't live life. All they do is reference other people's information, and they read books all day. Bookitarians are the people that are causing a lot of the issue right now, because they're third-party resource people. They get all their information through third party. Listen, bookitarians are reading another person's reference points. That isn't cool. You can read books, but you got to live life. One of the things how you gain wisdom is by living life. Listen, I'm a contactee and I researched it, but a lot of the things that you will hear from me are from my own physical experiences. It wouldn't be a reference from a book. I'm not reading books all day and then coming to you disseminating information from another third, fourth party. That's crazy. Wisdom is gained by reading, yes, and learning certain things, and then taking it and working it out in your life. Take the information that you learn from a book and assert that in your own life. Utilize that in your own life. See if it works out. Just like when you're a researcher, I can read about the theory, but how do I verify the theory? I have to actually do the experiment myself if I have access to all of the, the components, the ingredients of the experiment. So I'm big on that. Maybe I'm a Sagittarius, so that does take it. But bookitarians, be careful, people who read books all day and Google. Remember, the Google Plus people. Remember, I come from a different generation where we had to go to a library, vet things out, and actually vet things out personally. It wasn't like Google, and Google is headed by the Satanist sect. You know that, right? Google is headed by Zionist organizations. Google is ran by Zionists. Do you know that, right? So when you go to research things, I hope you aren't relying on Google, because Google is headed by the Zionists, and the narrative is all engineered by whatever agenda they're running. So that's what I'm saying. Be careful with these Google people and bookitarians. If you want to reference things, family, stop looking for people to lead you. You come to my channel because you like my shares, but a lot of you know that I'm all about you going out on your own and going and burrowing into your little rabbit hole and finding those wonderful crux of information that you find personally. The best thing that you could vet out are the information that you get yourself and that you experience. The best thing you could do is do it yourself. Stop looking for people to lead you. That's the problem. That's why people are buying toilet paper. That's why people are stuck in their houses, scared to go out. Listen, we're in quarantine, Florida. You know, the first thing I did when they said we were in quarantine, I went out. That's how I feel about them saying what I'm the captain. I'm the captainess of my own ship. Why would I listen to anybody else? I'm a mother. I am the boss. I'm the boss woman in my house. You aren't gonna tell me what to do. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and I do things righteously. So if you tell me it's quarantine, I'm gonna go check out and see how much quarantine it is. And guess what, family? That's why you gotta be careful what they tell you. Because when I went outside and I did my check the mic, everything's all gratefully good in my hood. So just be mindful of that. Stop looking for people to lead you. All the leaders have died. That should tell you something. All the leaders were assassinated, or supposedly assassinated. So why do you want to look for people to lead you? You have everything inside of you. If you're highly spiritual and you have a soul, you got reference points that supersede anything I share with you, anything Wilcox shares with you, anything Q shares with you. Your gut is your first mind. As a mother, you know how we know when things are about to go down? We feel it in our gut. You know how I know not to go when I used to be on the subway, not to take a train or not? I would feel it in my gut first. Go with your gut. If I had to get on the 2 train, I used to work at the Gap over in the World Financial Center when I was in college. And I would get on the 2 train. My dad paid for Metro North, but sometimes I would work late. So if I couldn't catch the train at Grand Central, I would take the 2 train all the way to 241st. Big up to all my Bronx and New York crew. Everybody knows who I'm talking about from New York. So if it was like 11:30 and I missed the last Grand Central train, I would have to get on the 2 train as a young girl, and I would have to take the 2 train all the way to 241st from downtown, from the World Financial Center, which doesn't exist in the way it did back then, okay? And every single time I got that gut feeling not to get on that train or to go to the front of the train because I felt like sitting in the car, I would get it. I remember one time I was sitting on the train and I was reading a book because I like to read books. Dean Koontz was my favorite author. So I was reading my book. My dad used to give me all the newest Dean Koontz books. He would buy me that off Water Street. So I was sitting in the car and then I had a feeling like something just hit me. I was reading. I was quiet. There was not many people on the train and I got this feeling. Don't you know? I put my book in my book bag and walked to the front car where the conductor was. You know what happened in that middle car? Somebody got robbed. You know, they used to snatch chains off people, take their sneakers, all kinds of craziness like that. They probably still do it, okay? I got the feeling. So I've always known and trusted my own feelings, my own gut. I could tell you all day, you have to trust your own intuition. You have to stop listening and being guided by people outside. It's okay to hear our shares. Listen, it's okay to come on YouTube and hear shares and theories. I think it's phenomenal. That's what YouTube does best. It gives you a variance of different philosophies and theories and people who come from all walks of life. That is the bomb.com. I wouldn't take that back for anything. But when you put too much stake and too much of one person's or a couple people's intel who are literally people that are set out to misinform you so that you end up doing something crazy, that's when you have to check yourself. We aren't here to be followers anymore. We got a whole bunch of leaders that led the way. You're good. You have every resource. You have every resource. If you want to look up a book and you want to get some, go get a book of your own. Go research it yourself. Go outside. If you want to learn about plants, instead of reading about plants, why don't you go out and look at plants? You know, that's what I'm saying. The Bookitarians get me really peeved sometimes because they're all about researching and they aren't about living. Part of the research is actually vetting it out through experiences. Again, as a researcher, I can read about the theories or the hypothesis regarding certain research, but at the end of the day, I got to get that petri dish. I got to get that fungi or that enzyme, and I want to look at it under the microscope myself so I can look at it myself. So I'm not going to listen to Susan. I'm not going to listen to Robert. FleurBrun is going to look at the microscope, and I give my notice and my account. Start living your life rather than vetting things out through Google and and then listening to Bookitarians.
didn't they tell you when Nature was sitting in a room, all he did was have 50 million tablets all day, looking through tablets all day long on Google? Google it. Google is headed by Zionists. Half of your illustrated books that come out into copy are all ran and allowed to come out because Zionists allow it. I went to, and I'll give you another resource. Big up to anybody in New York City. New York City really reared FleurBrun well back in the days. There was a library called the Rizing. Now, there's a couple people, if you went to CCNY, Columbia University, NYU, you know what I'm talking about. We had a library called the Rizing. It's probably changed 50 million times. I was referenced to go there by big up to my professor Jeffries, who was kicked out for saying the Jews were part of the slave trade, but then they kicked him out because he said that, but they had to reinstitute him because he was telling the truth, because it was a part of history that is not denoted, because the Zionists control how narratives show up in books and archived. So he gave us, him and another Cuban professor gave us information and told us to go to the Rizing Library. This Rizing Library was off of Fifth Avenue, and it moved. Listen, family, you won't get this anywhere else because I've never even heard anybody talk about it online. The library moved around every 2 weeks. Listen to me, every 2 weeks the library would move. You were only allowed to go with your backpack and a pencil, not a pen. And when you went up to go and do your searches, you would go to another floor. You would have to check your book bag downstairs. You could not bring a sack, a book bag, or a purse. Just a little purse. And then you would go to a second floor and you would go through and look through at the books and information you wanted. Then you could only stay as long as that library was open that day and copy it with your hands. You could not take a photocopy. You could not take the books out. You couldn't do it. When you get your information, you left the library, and 2 weeks later, that location moved. Does that tell you something about bookitarians that are using reference books that are legally allowed to be printed? It tells you that most of the information that is being disseminated is controlled. The library I went to moved around because that was information and books that were not allowed. They were censored. I found some incredible information about the Arawaks. I was looking up my history from the Arawaks and Caribs. Big up to all my Arawaks and Caribs in the Caribbean. That is the indigenous group we came from. I got many resources that I needed at the time about my own indigenous people in the Caribbean who came from South America. That's why you hear me say things about South America a lot of times that you won't get, because you won't get that from a regular library. All that information, unless you're getting it from the indigenous themselves who have passed down the information generationally, which a lot of them have been killed or, drugged with sugar, alcohol, because that is they have an enzyme that doesn't process sugar or alcohol, so they've ruined a lot of our indigenous people. But I keep it real. So listen, family, I'm not going to go on too long. I don't want to bark at you, but I want to just give you a warning. It is the best warning that I can as a mother, as someone who shares information to you, as someone who is a contactee. Be mindful of who you get referenced as for intel. 99% of the people that are nicely having wonderful, full conversations online, undisturbed, that are on networks, on television, they are ran and they are part of the agenda. They are part of the purposefully inserted agents of misinformation. Yes, they will give you information that is true, but they will give you a whole lot of information that isn't. And because you've already let them in the front door, chances are they're already in your house dirtying your white couch. Vet it out, including anything I say. If what I say to you sounds crazy and it doesn't resonate with you, throw that sucker out or put it in the archive in case it is relative later. Be mindful, because I'm sick and tired of hearing people referencing Q all the time. Q is multitude of people. Yes, Q may have one Intellis part of that Intellis group, but chances are, if the majority are Skeksis and ran by the Zionists or can be paid, and I tell you all the time, family, if someone can be paid to represent something, that's just like sponsors. If I listen, I remember coming on YouTube. No, this is not too long. I remember coming on YouTube a while ago. This is when sponsors are coming out. I'm gonna share another story. I like to share stories because it kind of gives you an idea of what I'm saying. So I went on YouTube, and this young lady had the most beautiful hair. Her hair was very similar in texture to mine. Oh my God. So she was promoting this shampoo and this conditioner. Oh, her hair was flowing. You know, my hair gets dry sometimes from certain conditioners. So she was advertising this conditioner and this hair thing, and her hair looked amazing. She was saying how wonderful it made her hair soft and shiny. She actually shampooed what looked like to be her shampoo. Hey, Bobo. What's up, Coco? Okay. I have to put something on. I'll go get Nana in a minute, okay? Yep. Live. Okay. So she had her hair shampoo. I give you the story all to say. She had her hair shampooed. It looked fantastic. So I'm excited because I'm like, her hair is like the same as mine, and I want to go and get her stuff. I want to get her stuff. And wait, hold on. So I go and buy her shampoo. I order the shampoo and the conditioner. I went to go use those shampoo. The shampoo dried out my hair so badly I could barely. It was matted. Listen, this is when I knew it was a setup. I try to brush my hair. I try to comb my hair because I always comb my hair in the shower. I comb my hair was so matted from the shampoo. I was like, oh snap! Why is my hair dry from this? When she did her shampoo, her hair was all shiny. Then I went to go put on the conditioner because you know conditioner usually will rock it out. The conditioner was pasty and off, and it smelled awful. And then I got a rash on the side of my face. This young lady I resonated with. She looked like me. She said that this was the bomb.com. But guess what, family? I didn't take in consideration that she was motivated to be sponsored, to take on a sponsorship because they were paying her. They were paying her. So she advertised something that was against absolutely everything that was true. But she was cool. She looked, like I said, she looked like me. She always had great, information normally. But why would she do that? Because people are motivated to promote things that will literally place them in that's a financial benefit. So if every time you get information and it's required for you to pay for it, you should question it. And if every time someone is motivated to do things, but they can change based on how much they are offered, then you should look at that. Be accountable for what you take in so that you can be accountable for how things turn out for you. That is a mother's advice. Right, Kakapoka? Right, Kakapoka? Okay? I appreciate a lot of intel on YouTube. And again, let me say this. This isn't a back shot to YouTube because YouTube has made our lives so much better because they allowed us this platform. But best believe this isn't our platform. Let me remind you, family, this is somebody else's platform. The name on YouTube isn't FleurBrun. It isn't your name. It isn't Selma. It isn't Kathy. It isn't Robert. It is YouTube. It is somebody else's platform that allows us to be on. So I'm grateful to have this other entity's platform to disseminate and talk to y'all. But if one day YouTube says, FleurBrun, peace out, we don't want you on our platform, I have to respect that it isn't what I created. This isn't our platform, and if it isn't mine, then who is heading it? And have any of you ever seen who started YouTube? Who are the people who created YouTube? Was it the CIA, the FBI? And if it was possibly the CIA and FBI, what would be their motivation for allowing this? Maybe to see the ebb and flow of our reaction, like a social experiment, so that they can create and control the narrative, so they can disseminate their own people. So what you'll see is the majority of people that have the most and most robust platforms are people who are upholding the narrative and the agenda. My numbers won't ever go up, and it's okay, because once you start getting more people, then you have more influence by others. Check the mic, and by checking the mic, you need to check your resources. If you can't vet it out yourself by a multitude of various, and one of the things why I get the best intel, let me state this and give props. Why I get the best intel is because of the magnificent boobs on ground that I have in every single country. Because I come from a foreign family, because I come from an original French indigenous family that's originally from South America that migrated into the Caribbean, because I speak another tongue, there's a lot of sea stars that resonate with me. In the Netherlands, in Europe, in Africa, I have boobs on ground in every state, every country, every tongue, every nationality, every religion, and they respect me. So when I get intel, I'm not getting it from men who are taking advantage of women. I'm not getting it from men who are domineering in the brotherhood, who have all these platforms. I get it from moms, grandmothers, sisters, women abroad, boobs on ground. So when FleurBrun comes to you with information, I am getting it from other indigenous sisters. I am getting it from women that are mothers. I trust mothers more than I trust anyone else. Why? It's because mothers want the best for their babies. And if I can talk to a mom who's living abroad, who happens to be near a military installation, or she has a husband who's very affluent, I get the best intel. So my intel is always vettable because I'm not getting it from inside the United States. It isn't focused here in the United States because I come from a foreign diaspora. I can get information from my other sea stars and mamas abroad. The 90% of all the intel that FleurBrun gets, other than celestial or from my own experiences, is a lot of times from the boobs on ground in other nations. And they get better intel because they aren't controlled by our agendas here. So they may have agendas over there, but their agendas aren't the same here. So their intel about us or what's going on here is a lot more vettable because they aren't geared by that. I trust zero men that aren't connected to a healthy family diaspora or family dynamics. Men who manipulate women, men who are cruel to women, men who don't even sleep or love women, those aren't men that I deal with. I wouldn't get any intel from a man who doesn't love his family. I wouldn't get any intel from men who violate women, because those are the type of men that would be susceptible for infiltration and also from attachments to demonics and otherwise. I won't get intel from people who are alcoholics or drug addicts. And I love families. I'm very family oriented. Hey, Cookie. Oh, does it? Okay, I'll get it for you. Do you have the link? Okay. I'll get it. What's in your mouth, Cookie? What you have that's pink in your mouth? What are you eating? The mass arrests. Okay, so listen, family. This is my opinion. Now that I've already barked on the misinformation, there are arrests happening. I do know this for a fact. But it isn't to the quantity and quality to what is being disseminated. A lot of what's happening is a change of guard. So let's state this. Let's be rational when we talk about it. Okay, because we have to clear this up. And we utilize the information that's disseminated, but let's use our own natural intellect and our natural discernment. Because we're going into a shift of cycle. And because we're going into a shift of cycle, yes, because we're changing guards, there needs to be a reestablishment of power that's more balanced, new home court advantage that is based in matriarchy. Okay? Yes. Like all the CEOs, you will see people disappear and going their underground bunkers. You will see people that are literally being held and questioned and sequestered based on the fact that they aren't in the alignment of where we're going. So be careful, because yes, there are those who are being detained, and yes, things are being removed. Oh, it's buffering. Can you guys see me? I don't know if you can see me anymore. Let me know if you're there. I'm not going to stay on and keep you guys long. Okay. Yes, there have been arrests made. So I will say this. Yes, there has been a number of arrests made. And yes, there are closed indictments. Let me verify this. And how I verified the closed indictments, I didn't use Q. Let me explain something. I didn't use Q as my reference, nor anybody else. How I verify indictments, listen to what I said, family. The majority of my intel comes from mothers and women who are insiders. Women sleep with husbands who are judges. Women who have military access because they're wives of people in the military. People who are in the judicial system. This is where I get my intel from. I haven't ever, listen to me. You've heard me say this before. I haven't ever referenced that I knew for certain that Q was my point. Okay? I'll give information based on someone else sharing something that's a little different. But Q isn't my reference point. So how I verify things is there are women who are married to judges who have verified to me, and women who are attached to men or are in military installations who have also verified to me that yes, there are closed indictments that have not been released to the public because it would cause mass hysteria. So yes, that is happening. That's what I'm saying. Q isn't all wrong, but be careful the motivation of several different individuals and why they would give it to you, because a lot of times people will give you information because it's a change of guard. So they want to make it look like they're good guys because they've done so much wrong. So they want to say, oh, look, I'm giving you information. Be careful of the motivation behind the shares. The motivation matters even more than the intel. What is their motivation for giving this information to you? What do they stand to gain by disseminating information to you? Okay? So yes, there are those, but it is a change of guard. There are still people in positions of power that are calling for the dissemination of things that are harmful to the main populace. They are. Hollywood is going to be, let me state this. Hollywood, in my opinion, is going to be flattened, okay? All of these people who represent darkness, child molestation, child trafficking, all those who benefited from the harm of the female sex, they won't be there anymore. That I know for a fact, 1,000%. Post-pole shift, we won't have that kind of dirtiness. It will be a new establishment. If you've sat in comfortability and complicity of children being murdered, harmed, harvested, of brown people whose organs have been harvested, if you have come from a lineage of people who have genocidally have been genocidal to a certain group of people, you won't be in any position of power. That's what I'm saying. We have a change of guard. I talked about the Nuburians coming online, but it's more than just that. It's a change of a cycle, a change of the guard. Change of the guard means establishing of a different hierarchy that is more in alignment with those who are the matching the frequencies of where we're going. That's it. That's a rational share. Rational. I won't take it as like, yeah, this man. There's a lot. Anybody who's in the entertainment, who's done well in the entertainment sect, actors, athletes, who else? Musicians. They were all complicit with the child trafficking. All of them. By the nature of them being so high ranking and paid with dead presidents, they are all complicit in that. So it will be a flattening of that. That won't exist in that way. There'll be entertainment in the future, of course. But those who utilize and harvest children, they won't be here. That I know that 1,000%. So yes, you will see celebrities nicely, kindly go in their underground. They'll dip into their underground bunkers. They're all disappearing. They're all disappearing. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that, Tim. Tim said, disclaimer, Fair Use Act, viewers and expressions are for educational purposes. Thank you, my love. I need to put that occasionally. Thank you for putting it in there. Okay? So, if they've benefited and they were paid through blood money, it's just like a drug dealer. You know, it's like a drug dealer's family. If you know that your son's a drug dealer and he gives you money that you know comes from selling drugs, you are complicit in his behavior. You are taking and benefiting from his disparaging behavior and his genocidal practices that hurt his community. So by the nature of you being down with the cabal by benefiting fiat-wise, you're gonna pay. So just use discernment. And again, this video isn't, yeah, it does show shade. And listen, I actually have, let me take a sip for the haters, yes. There's no caffeine in here, family. This is a chai. Oh, look, it was open. Oh, yes, you can have it. You want to put it in? Oh, what did you do? You poured it in there? Oh, that's cute. You did that? That's cute. There's no caffeine in here. This is chai. I shouldn't explain myself. Let me take a sip for the haters. Oh, cucarachis. Cucarachis. Hold on. Let me take a sip. This is a sip for the haters. Uh-oh. ASMR. ASMR. I'm the most antagonistic. I should realize I don't get invited to a lot of places because I'm antagonistic too. Yeah, they're all going to the bunkers. All that code of talking to each other via online, they're all going to the bunk. They have to. No, do you think they want to be accountable for taking a chemical for making them young again? All of them are melting. That means if you're melting right now, listen, celebrities, if you're melting right now, your skin is melting because you aren't getting an adrenochrome from that which is harvested from little babies, then you need to go hide. You need to hide because you aren't going to be here. So either you hide or you get removed. And the way you'll get removed isn't going to be pretty. So yes, they aren't going to be here. That's why they're melting. So there is that. So I'm just saying, you know, if we're to use, thank you, Tim. You know what, Tim? I'm going to add you to my, thank you, Tim. I'm going to add you as a moderator. Thank you for putting that. You're thinking for me. You're thinking for my benefit. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sometimes I don't pay attention to things like that, and I should. So I'm just saying there's a lot of people that there are indictments that are signed and closed and sealed. Why is my phone dying already? Okay, there are sealed indictments. There are. Let me state that again. There are. But it isn't because Q told you. Q's telling you partial truths. But remember, what is the incentive of these beings that are representing Q? Are they trying to hold home court in some sort of position so that when things really collapse, that you put your trust in them? Probably. Q isn't just one person. It's a multitude of persons. And if you want to know who Q is, you need to look at the language. It changes the way that they disseminate information. But please stop asking me about Billy Carson and Wilcox. I don't trust them. I don't trust either one of them. Billy Carson is another implant. And because he's brown, listen, I trust 0 people who wear sunglasses all the time. If you have to wear sunglasses indoors at night and all the time, why are you doing that? The only people who like to wear sunglasses is people who think they don't look good. People who have issues, insecurity with their visuals, they tend to do that. So insecure people will wear sunglasses if they feel they aren't good looking. People used to ask, why does P. Diddy wear sunglasses at night back in the days when he was on video shows? Because he didn't think he was good looking. So he was insecure. He was insecure about his looks. But Billy Carson isn't a bad looking man. He's easy on the eyes. So why is he hiding his eyes all the time? And why is he on Google all the time? Why is somebody telling me that the man, they walked in a room and all he does is research? He's up at 4 o'clock in the morning on Google all day and researching archives on books. If you're about that life, if you're really a contactee, you wouldn't have to do that. You would take resources from your own personal experiences. Why you got to research it all over the place? That's what I'm saying. And he's been inserted in the brown community like if he's validated. Where did he come from? He was part of, he was a coach from, he's from, listen, anybody from entertainment or sports, you should already know. Beauty, sports, and entertainment. If someone's coming from beauty, sponsors, beauty, makeup, whatever they do, be concerned. All of a sudden they come in the ET and metaphysical community. He's from sports. He was a coach or something. Why you? All of a sudden you have money. You have a mugshot from stealing and misrepresenting yourself. Why'd you change your name? Why'd you change your name, Billy? Wasn't it William Carlson? Why'd you change your name? That doesn't make sense. Why would you change your name to something so close? So the phonetical, or the way that we phonetically say your name would be so similar, so we wouldn't catch the change of the way it's pronounced. Thank you, Kim. Thank you for always keeping straight with us. We appreciate. Thank you, my love. I appreciate it. Thank you, 1313. Yeah, I'm just saying. Why is his name changed, and why is it so slight? That's like smoke and mirrors. Why would you do? If you're gonna change it, why don't you change it all the way to the left? Then another C-star said she changed her name legally. She never changed her name. She changed it because she came from doing diabolical things in another sect, and she flip mode herself to make her look a certain way and change her name so she could mislead people in our community. You gotta be careful with these shapeshifters. It's not just shapeshifters and aliens, just shapeshifters and people who are agents of misinformation, or people who do dark things in other sects and they come to ours thinking that we just gonna let them in because it's so unmonitored over here. No, we monitor it because we can feel you. We can feel when you aren't real and authentic. At least you should. If you aren't drinking and dropping it like it's hot. I'm just saying, people hide in their eyes all the time. I don't trust people who wear sunglasses all the time. I won't. Why are you hiding your eyes? I got bags underneath my eyes. Listen, family, I got bags underneath my eyes since the first video I made. I don't wear any compound, what is it? What's that stuff called? What's the stuff, what you call that stuff in your face? What's the stuff you use in your face? Compound? What's this stuff? Compound? What's it? Compound? What is it called? Foundation. Thank you. Search. Foundation. You know why? Why am I coming on you putting foundation on my face? What for? Who am I trying to fool? I got bags. Listen, I got bags under my eyes for the entire time I've been on here. I'm not wearing sunglasses. I could wear sunglasses. I do 0 drugs and I don't drink. And I'm a mother, and I'm not diabolically out here being a clown. I don't wear. Why? A lot of times, if I want to see that's why I want to meet people sometimes. Take off your makeup. What are you making up for? Another thing is they shapeshift their faces. Why are you hiding? I'm not saying you can't wear makeup. Listen, family, I'm not saying you can't wear beautiful makeup sometimes. Sometimes you guys, thank you, my love. Thank you, Pisces. Oh, beautiful Pisces. Pisces are so very sensitive. I love it. Yeah, what am I gonna harm myself for? Someone said that one time, like, oh, FleurBrun, you should put some compound or something on your eyes, so you can see me in person and be like, oh my God, who's that? You listen. If you knocked on my door in the morning, this is who you're gonna see, straight up. And there isn't any shapeshifting me. It's not saying because I love myself. I'm not trying to smoke you out and create an image. I'm already weird. If you like me as the weirdo that I am, the nerd, the geek that I am, this is the way I come. Just like when I'm mating. Why would I want to be with a man who never seen my face and my hair? He's going to see my messy hair and he's going to see my bags underneath my eyes. And if he still wants to mate with me, after I'm quirky, talking about aliens, talking about I'm in contact, waking up in the night, taking pictures of the sky, then that means he really rocks with me. That means he really rocks with me. That means he's about that. That means that he's authentically in alignment of me. Watch these shapeshifters online. All kinds of shapeshifting people. They shapeshift their information. That's what I'm saying. Again, let me say, I don't rock with Billy Carlson. I don't authenticate anything he says. When he came out in the community, I did look into his background. And then when you look in someone's background and then you see what's going on, how does he have money to have a satellite in space? Why is every brown community allowing him to be put in there? Now he has a whole hidden, what is it called? Hidden knowledge site. Why does he have all that? But then he just was accused and had a mugshot of scamming people out of money and having a different identity. What does that tell you? Why would he do that and all of a sudden show up authentic? See, this is what the problem is. I have a problem with the ET, extraterrestrial, UFO community because we just let anybody come in our community. Nobody vets nobody. You could just come into the UFO. You could put Anunnaki, galactic, all kinds of things in your feed, and people would authenticate you because we don't have any authentication that you're real. So people come in our community, all kinds of crazy, utilizing the plug that this is popular because we're going into a new galactic sect where we are going to have more galactic and celestial interaction, and they could just come in our community and nobody. I do. That's why I called out Carrie Cassidy. Carrie Cassidy has some good information, but she was trying to keep away the information about the brown extraterrestrial because she don't like brown people. She has a problem with people. She thinks a lot of brown people are ghetto. She has said on private that she doesn't trust or she feels unsafe around brown people. So that's why I don't like Carrie Cassidy. So I blew her spot. Stop getting information and trying to hide it because some of us need that. She gets good information and she gets a lot of good intel, but I don't like her because she did that. You aren't part of the bigger galactic sect if you have problem with people of different complexions. You're telling me you're okay with reptilians, you're okay with fish beings, you're okay with alpha cetarians, you're okay with bird-looking beings, but you're not okay with people who are brown? That already lets me know that you're not really about that life. Because if you've been exposed to reptilians, you would love every earthling. You would see every bipedal earthling and you'd be like, yo, you're one of us. If you've ever seen another being that looks totally different than you, you would rock with anybody who looks similar to you. By nature, it's the nature of how we are built. So if you are really a galactic or you're interfacing with galactic beings, you wouldn't have those biases and prejudices. You wouldn't be based in complexionism. If you are, it lets me know you're a liar because I've seen the others. That's why I'm all about unity consciousness, because when I see my sea stars, I know you are bipedal. I know you're more earthling than not, because the other ones don't look like us. They don't. And when you see them, it's just like going to another country and you're an American and you hear somebody speak English. They're your best friend. They're your best friend. Go to France. As an American, go to France, and then you hear somebody speak English. When I was in Brazil, everybody speaks Portuguese. Everyone's Brazilian. The first person I heard speak English, hey, how you doing? Why are we friends now? You know why? Because the differences are so much more, the likenesses are so much more overt when you're exposed to something so different. Okay, so I'm rational and I'm a mother, and I'm a present mother. So when I come to you, family, and I have issues, my issues aren't your issues, but best believe I won't sit here and be complicit with others giving misinformation based on their agenda or being paid to mislead you because they get a check. There will be a day that YouTube stops paying people, and I guarantee you that all these people that you enjoy listening to will drop off of YouTube and go on another platform. They will drop off like hotcakes. It will be the best day of your life. You know how you resolve agents of mass destruction on YouTube? Drop the checks, drop the sponsoring. I guarantee you we'll get more legitimacy out of the intel once you do that. Let the social media go down. Let the checks stop. Let's see who's legitimate. Let's see who's really about that life. All right, so I'm just saying, watch your intel list. There are agents of mass destruction. There are beings set out here who are always implants of misinformation. Listen to your own first mind. Dr. Delbert Blair told me that so many times. He beat it into my head. He used to say, delve. Listen, go with your first mind, your gut. You want information? Go with your gut. You want to know what's going on with the world? Go in your gut. If you want to know what I'm saying is true, listen to your gut. But vet everything out. We're in the most amazing times when truth is coming out all over the place. But know which truth is truly the truth and where it's being disseminated and what's the agenda from the truth. Because again, someone may tell you the truth because they want to control you. They want you to like them. So some people will just tell you the truth because we're in the time of the truth and they don't get away with lying anymore. So it isn't a legitimate reason why they're being honest. It isn't coming from a good space that they want to do righteousness. It's because they're motivated by a change of guard. There's a comet coming, family, and we're undergoing a pole shift. There are galactics that are home. The Norburians are home. Yes, people are going to act like they were always goody-goody now that another guard is coming. They're going to try to get in good with the new guardianship. But best believe we should remember who those were that were so easily guided by darkness because of their greed and because of their own agendas. Oh yeah, there's empty hospitals all over the place. That's another thing. Thank you, my love. There's empty hospitals. There's empty hospitals because people are well, gratefully. They're well, family. This whole cucarachis dropping it like it's hot, they're well. They're keeping you home because they don't want you to see what's going on in the skies. I told you to take pictures of the skies. When I'm in my tent, I told you I'm in my tent. I'm in my bug-in tent. When I'm in my tent, I'm taking pictures. There's all kinds of military. What do you got military helicopters? What's happening? What's happening? Why you got military helicopters? Everybody's in their house. Why? Because something else is going to happen. Look at the sky, family. Look at the skies. You want to know what's going on? Don't take your eyes off the sky. Now many of you are home. Take your telescopes out. Take your binoculars out. Be the nosy neighbors that you knew you always could be. Look out at the sky. You be surprised what you see up in the sky rather than UFOs. You're seeing a lot of activity in the skies. You have to pay attention. You want to know what's going on? Don't listen to Q. You be Q. Why don't you be your own Q in your life? Why don't you be the own intelligence? I get the best intel from the sea stars who are just noticing the idiosyncrasies in the life. Okay? And resonate with people who match your frequency. I can get intel from so many different sources. I won't take people who are sickly and unhealthy and alcoholics. That people say, is that judgmental? It's righteous. I only resonate with intel that matches my frequency. So when someone's healthy, when they do good things to people in their lives, when they're family oriented, when they are motivated by things other than materialism, I trust those people more. I trust a mother more when I know she's a more present mother to give me intel. Pay attention. And yes, I'm not telling you not to listen to Q, but listen with discernment. Listen to the back. You know, like Michael Jackson said, you know, when we're a dancer, most people who have natural rhythm, there's a difference between people who have natural rhythm and people who are trained to dance or people who do both. But when you have natural rhythm, you can dance in between the beat. That's how you know somebody has rhythm. So how someone dances, when we dance, especially in Latin dance or in Africano dance or in Caribbean dance, we can dance, we catch the in-between beat. You have to look in between the lines. When I catch that beat in between, it's because I'm catching the air between, like the pre. Get in between. That's where the truth lies. The rhythm is in between. It's not on the beat, it's in the beat. Do you understand? Dancers know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Like when I hear the beat and I hear it, my hips automatically hit that first beat and then it hits the second. But it'll go in between. I feel the rhythm before I even hit the beat. So I have a choice, a conscious choice. Go in between. When the information comes, preempt it. You'll feel the information and then it will come. That's the in between. That's where the truth lies. The truth is always in between. It isn't right or left, it's the middle. It's a 0 point. That's the truth. So if you're getting information for left and right, go in the middle. Okay? When someone has too grandiose a platform and someone has too lists a platform, go somewhere in the middle and get that person, those people who are in between. Okay? That's where the truth lies, in that 0 point. All right? Follow your first mind, but go with your gut. Okay? Because a Skeksis to you could be a mystic to me, and vice versa. So know that what resonates with you may not resonate with me, and that's okay. Because you may be in home court advantage and I may not be. So what is scary for you, that's what I'm saying, family. There's a lot of people scared, but they should be, because they aren't in home court advantage. They and their ancestors have done dark deeds. So they're frightened. So they're going to give you the narrative of fear, and they will inflict you with their projection of fear. If you are people that came from good, healthy people, your mom and dad were good people, your grandmothers were good people, they were sweet, kind, they didn't hurt anyone, they don't come from genocidal lineage, your genes speak to who you are. That's why I go into blood types. I could tell who a child will be by the parents' display of anarchy or peace. So yes, there will be people online who are scared to death. They should be. They aren't in home court advantage. There is a change of guard. Then there are people who are chilling because they are now going into a peaceful period of health, and the meek inherit the earth. So all these people in the Brotherhood talking about Wilcock, these people all were reliant and got resources from doing and being a party to darkness. They should be scared. And they probably projecting their own arrest. If anybody should be arrested, it should be David Wilcock. Don't be surprised that David Wilcock isn't taken in for questioning. Remember back in the days he had a lawsuit with him and Corey Good? Because he's questionable. So you shouldn't be shocked if David Wilcock gets arrested as well. He's talking about all these arrests. He better be careful that he's not the number one person that's being watched. Because he isn't in home court advantage in the next cycle. I'm telling you, family. So whatever he's projecting is going to be all fear-based. And it'll be motivated by him trying to position himself in a more beneficial position. Because he isn't the one. I know that for a fact. Anything that he is reminiscent of is in opposition to me and mine. The Andromedans aren't rocking with David Wilcock or anybody who's associated with Gaia. All of them are controlled opposition, and they make a crap load of money off of people's paranoia and their imagination, and they aren't in contact but with benevolent beings. Greys and Greys have their own agenda based on who they work for. Anybody who's ran by a Gray, you shouldn't even rock with. This Gray is all in the cell phones. And AI is interfacing with people in more ways than not. So you got to be careful, because people may think something's real, but because they are being holographically controlled. Thank you, 44. I love kiddos will need cucarachas back. Oh, well, I hope not, 44. We will rebuke that, and we won't even put that in our mindset. Just be like, the children will be fine, okay? Like they always will. Oh, you're a choreographer, goddess? You know about that in-between beat. It's that beat before the next one, so you feel it. People who have natural rhythm know what I'm talking about. People can be trained to be dancers, but it doesn't mean they have natural ability. A trained dancer can look as if they're naturally rhythmic, but someone who isn't trained doesn't require to be taught. But it's nice when you have both. So I'm trained and I have natural rhythm. So holographically controlled is people who have technology being used on them to interface with them telepathically. So you have people who are getting holographic interface with aliens. So they will say they're being taken up to ships. A lot of them are being controlled by Willy Wonka. Willy Wonka has technology that can literally beam people and make them think that they're interfacing with aliens, and they're not. How you know if you are, if you aren't, is because, again, you have, there are beings that are malevolent and benevolent, and certain physical. Uh, okay, so you know how I get stigmatas on me, and I get imprinting on me. Many of you seen the symbols on me, and I get interaction. The extraterrestrials will contact me via my phone or my. That's because I'm having physical, true contact with beings. So I'm not just getting holograms and then dispersing that information to you verbatim based on me thinking I'm having it. I'm getting actual proof along with it. Okay? You rarely see a lot of these quote unquote contactees who get sigils on them. I'm probably the only one who's ever got that many sigils on her body physically, and I have proof of it. That's what I'm saying. I'm not invited to any of the contactees, but I have physical proof. And physical proof that isn't something I've done, and it's live. Okay? You see them a lot of times come on the screen, the field. So it's just saying that they holographically imprint people's mind with information and intel, thinking that they're interfacing with aliens, and they aren't. It's a projection. It's some sort of AI technology that they're hijacking your brain. And most people who get hijacked don't have a lot of melanin over their cells. Remember, melanin coating a cell disallows for hijacking. So why most brown people have interaction that's as healthy and happy with extraterrestrials is because their cells can't be incepted. Melanin can't be incepted. That's why the DNA can't be messed with, because it's coated by cells. That's why when you're working in a laboratory, which I worked in a laboratory for over 10 years, the white rats with pink eyes, I can work on them because they've been stripped of their melanin. It allows me to incept and imprint some DNA or alter their DNA based on them not being stripped of melanin. So when you hear of people of color who are highly melanated having interface with extraterrestrials, it most likely isn't being projected holographically. They're having physical interfacing. It's different. Those who have stripped melanin, they can have interaction with aliens, but they can also be incepted by governmental technology because they don't have any protection around their cells. That's why brown people are policed on the outside, and lunars are policed from the inside. We're all policed, but brown people have outer perimeters that are controlled. That's why brown people, their neighborhoods, what they do is controlled all from the outside. It has to be that way because they can't be incepted internally. But lunars can be incepted internally, so they don't need as many guards. They can walk around freely, much more, freer in a lot of ways. Brown people have to be controlled from the outer perimeters because they can't be incepted genetically. Okay? They can be, chemicalized or, nutricided, yes. But I'm talking about inception in the cells. So how you perceive your reality isn't for someone highly melanated, isn't having holographic projections that are false because their cells are coded and protected. So if they're actually having interface with aliens and they're saying it, it's because it's happening. But a lot of brown people have been controlled by religious sects. So that's why you see a lot of influence of Christianity on brown people. So brown people always think that, oh, Jesus is talking to me, or, oh, it's divine spiritual, it's the Holy Spirit. Okay, so they've been controlled by narratives of outer things to control them. So they always have religion. That's why a lot of brown women, because brown women are highly connected to source, that's why you have them heavily into Christianity. So it ruins their connection to the legitimacy of having celestial interface because they won't believe it. They'll think it's Jesus Christ, or they'll think it's the Holy Spirit. Okay, you'll hear a lot of Christian women talking about they're having dreams or the Holy Spirit is coming. Those are most likely the celestial family, but because they've been so indoctrinated and they've been traumatized genetically over generations, being beat or abused or policed, they are traumatized, and then they are Christianized, and that combination creates what we consider to be Stockholm syndrome. So they won't ever accept that they're involved with celestials because they're so imprinted with Christianity or some other religious whatever. Okay, so a lot of brown people are having interface with celestials. They are more so than they accept. It's probably higher degree of brown people having interface with celestials, but because they're so Christianized, they won't ever accept it. So that's why the system doesn't care. It knows that those people are suffering from Stockholm syndrome, so they aren't concerned about those people, but they are concerned about the brown people who aren't Christianized. So what they'll do is they create other forms of religious type of like veganism or something for them to like latch onto, so it'll be more like, like another religious kind of thing. Listen to all the stories. I've sat down and sat down at a funeral with some women who are Baptists from a Baptist church, and they were talking about they were dreaming. Listen to this. They dreamed that they saw lights in the sky. Listen, family, they're talking to each other, but they think it's Jesus, and they think it's like some sort of like Christian thing. They saw lights in the sky, and they saw their family. They saw something beam down like a cylinder, it's like an orb. They're having celestial contact, and they think it's Jesus. They think it's Christianity. It's crazy. So there's no shade to anybody on here. I just know things from a genetic standpoint. So you get the information I share with you based on me having a lot of experience with genetics, lineage, and also I come from foreigners. So you get a kind of combination platter with FleurBrun. I gained a lot of wisdom by being a weirdo and coming and walking in all different walks of life. Gratefully. That's all. So I've seen a lot, done a lot, and experienced a lot. And that's why you won't hear me vet out books all the time, because I can actually vet out experiences, not Google or books. Yeah, listen to religious people, y'all. Go listen to your religion. Go listen to religion. We are all sin. We all sin? What is sin? What do you mean by sin? We all do human things. Are you Christian? Am I messing with your peace of mind? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Does that offend you? Did I just mess with your Stockholm syndrome? Do you still believe that Jesus was lunar with blonde hair and blue eyes, living in the middle of the Middle East and coming from and actually his mother being dark carbon skin with coily hair? You think that Jesus is that? Do you? Right? Yeah. Just saying. Some of you aren't even rational. That type of phenotype can't even live in the hot region. Where'd you get that from? You still believe there's people with names like Joseph and Jacob when they didn't even have a J? J isn't even a letter that existed in the language. So funny. I'm just saying, yeah, I don't want to mess with you Christians because y'all get mad at me. I'm just saying you should be rational though, okay? When you just use rational sense, do you know that if Jesus was actually birthed from Mary as a virgin, it was called parthenogenesis, and by the nature of her giving birth to herself, Jesus is a female, right? So y'all are waiting for a man to come. Let me break your curse. If Jesus comes back, it's going to be a female, because Jesus wasn't ever a male. And if you look at how much Jesus was paid back then, let me not mess with your. I don't want to mess with your. Let me stop, because Jesus was paid the amount that a female was paid at the time. And if you want to talk about the 12 apostles, there was a 13 there, right? And the 13 was Mary Magdalene. What if I told you that was really Jesus? Mary Magdalene, Jesus took the credit for what Mary Magdalene was doing. Let me stop. I'm going to leave y'all alone. I'm sorry. And some of y'all still wear the cross on you. Why would you wear a symbol of something that subjected your people to mind control? I don't see any Jewish people wearing swastikas. And swastikas not all negative. How come y'all Christians wear crosses? Do you know that brings you pain because it's a symbol? It's actually a sigil that represents pain for brown people. So every time a brown person wears a cross, you're bringing in pain and sacrifice and victimhood. You know that, right? Sorry. Did you know that? I would just suggest you stop wearing the cross. So some people be like, oh, she's a devil worshiper. No, I'm rational, and I'm just saying, I know what symbols, I'm pretty masterful at sacred geometry and sigils. And I'm just saying, for brown people, now if lunars wore crosses, it doesn't do the same for them genetically, because that symbol isn't imprinted in their genetics as negative. But that cross came on a boat, and everything that came when that cross came, murder, genocide, and rape. So I'm just saying, when you represent that cross, the cross is a negative in the beginning, but the cross represents something negative for brown people after. Thank you, my love. Oh, thank you. Unity consciousness. Oh, First Nations. That's what I'm talking about. The indigenous is in the house. Big up to you, Sea Star. No, non-brown people won't have the same effect, because genocide was not initiated with that symbol with you. Okay? Genocide wasn't initiated. When you take a symbol and you initiate something that causes trauma genetically, it's imprinted in the genes. So every generation that wears the cross that was affected and impeded by the crimes and the genocide will be affected negatively. Thank you, my love. You got the 888. That's what I'm talking about. Unity consciousness. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, my love. So I'm just saying, it's different for everyone. You got to be rational. When I talk about gene pools, why most people get traumatized is because they whenever you carry, the mother carries the trauma. So the mother will carry that imprint. It's called imprinting genes. The mother will carry it. That's why most mothers who give birth young, their daughters will give birth young. You give the extra mitochondria, which has the memories, cellular memories. So because 3 and 4 generations of people will hold and carry an imprint in their genes, if you keep showing, like brown people who've never been hurt by dogs, but their grandmother was attacked by dogs during the time of the 60s, they will have the trauma of being fearful of dogs. They don't know why. If somebody was, drowning, grandfather, great-grandmother had an issue with water and drowned and nearly drowned, and they carry that gene, then that's passed. That fear factor is carried in the gene pool. So I'm just saying, Christians, you shouldn't be wearing crosses, especially brown people, because that is an imprint of genocide. So by the nature of you wearing that, you will either be the victim or the victor. That's why you see a lot of preachers who are terrible people, or you see parishioners who are very, very traumatized and suffering. So it's either suffering or domination. So the cross represents both. Who are you in the spectrum of that? Are you the one who dominate people by utilizing their fear and their loathing, and you benefit financially? Or are you the victim of that? You're always looking for something outside of yourself to give you legitimacy or to guide you. The Ankh is the representation of the womb. So the Ankh, of course, is beautiful because the Ankh has the incorporation of the womb. The cross is taking away the womb. The round part on the top is the yoni. So when you represent, you heal the cross when you wear it as an Ankh. There's a little different. The Ankh hasn't been ruined. It is the cross. It's the removal of the womb. That's why it's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The woman has been omitted because patriarchy is part of the Zionist agenda. That's why wherever the Zionists are, they molest and rape women, molest children, and they rape women. Wherever Zionists control a narrative, there is molestation of children and there is raping of women. You shouldn't trust anything that's connected to that false Judaic principle, Judaic genre. They're not Jews. They're under the guise of Judaism. They hide in that genre, but they aren't Jewish. They aren't practicing Judaism. Most of them are basically they're kind of like what are they? They're atheists, so to speak. I wouldn't call them atheists. More agnostic. They're more agnostic. They don't really go with organized religion. Lunar means I call brown people melanites or carbon beings or brown people. I call lunars European fair skin or fair skin. If you don't like it, it's an endearing term that I created. I have a shape. I create words, that represent things that I think are more positive. Okay, black means black. Anything with a 13 in front exasperates the after part. So that's why you won't hear me say black people, because that's a negative term. It's be lack. The B exasperates the lack. Okay, I call them Carmen people or Melanites or brown people. That's what I say. I don't say blessed, because blessed is be less. So when you tell them blessing people, you're damning them. You're sending you're cursing them. Blessed is be less. Okay. I use positive word. I say blissed. Blissed is more positive. Okay. Just I use terms that are a little more. It's just what I do. You don't have to do what I do. Okay. I just try to use words that spelling or spells. Okay. The English language is the most bastardized language. Us who speak other languages, French was my first language. Some of you, Spanish was your first language. There's different African tongues. There's so many different beautiful African tongues. German is some people's first language. Portuguese is people. It's easier sometimes, even though my cousin said my French is garbage. She keeps saying that. She doesn't like the way I speak French. I wasn't reared in France. I was reared here, but my first language was French. So I have like a debaucherous type of French. But we can see, when you speak another language, you can see from the viewpoint of outside. So I can see better with the English language by not being my first reference point. It's like how people get better news about America than we get in America. Do you understand what I mean? So like that. So that's all. So just watch your words, So some of you sometimes will say, good morning. Why are you mourning? You say good morning. Why are you mourning? And you projecting that. So I always say, grand rising or good day, whatever. But I stay away from words that are spells. And I encourage my children to do the same. Okay? When someone sneezes, you say, God bless you. So you're basically initiating a spell to make them less. Okay? Just watch your language. It's better not to speak if you aren't able, or I try to keep from negations too. You'll hear me avoid words like not, can't, won't, never. Okay? Even when my mate says things to me, he always says, Grand Rising. That's not what he does, but he realizes and respects the way I do. Jesus, first of all, I don't want to ruin Christians. Let me leave that alone. Because y'all trying to make me, Christians they usually stay away from me in physical form. Because it's just, I want them to be intact. Everybody's at the spiritual level that they're supposed to be. They're supposed to, I don't want to criticize anybody for their spiritual beliefs, because everybody's where they're supposed to be. If we didn't have Christianity or organized religions, you'd have murderers all over. I'm being honest. You'd have murderers everywhere. If you didn't have organized religion, you would have men murdering and raping women. So we require it. You want people that go to church, because if those people didn't go to church, you would have a bunch of anarchists running around doing heathenistic things. That's why back in the days they were doing. Remember when Christianity and the Muslims, they were cutting people's heads off, and they were doing that. So I'm just saying, we need people to be in religion, because if they weren't, you'd see a whole lot worse. That's the beginning point. That's like the beginning reference point for spirituality. Let them be where they're supposed to be. Not everybody's here for ascension, and everybody isn't here for 5D plus. That's where they're supposed to be. And I respect that. So I'm not trying to hurt anyone I just give them a little bit so that they realize to be careful. I want them to protect themselves so they can practice Christianity, but I just tell them to protect themselves from the cross. And I just show them that worshiping a being that doesn't look like you is a form of mind control. Every religion, someone worships people who look like themselves. Brown people are the only people who are worshiping a being that, first of all, that is artificial in physicality and phenotype, because he couldn't live in Israel. That complexion, okay, naturally. His mother was Nubian. Mary was Nubian. So she had a dark hair and coily hair. Or I remember he had hair of wool, right? So I just try to help Christians in that way. You can worship whatever you want. There's some beautiful parables in Christianity and the Talmud. I read the Talmud and the Torah. I've learned such beautiful things in the Quran. There's beautiful things. I'm just trying to keep you rational and from hurting yourself. You could do whatever you want, but I'm not trying to hurt the Christians. I'm really not. That's where they're supposed to be. I leave them where they are. I'm not trying to destroy their peace of mind. Because sometimes that's just what they require. Okay? Yeah, skin of copper, hair of wool. That's what I'm saying. If you have a Jesus that looks different than you in your house, there's something. Anyone who worships something opposite of what they look like, they're suffering from low self-esteem and Stockholm syndrome. Every God that you're supposed to worship should look like you. I don't believe in worshiping, but I'm just saying, if you are worshiping a God that looks opposite of you, you're suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Okay? When you walk in my house, you see beautiful gold Rastafaris. You see African art. You see indigenous art because they look like me. I love me. I really appreciate me. So everything in my house will be reminiscent of what I look like. I remember a young sea star who asked me how come I had African statues in my house. I said, why would you ask that? They look like me. I would only have things. I wouldn't go in your house and say, why do you have lunar statues, right? Or beautiful lunar statues, because that's your family lineage. You should have those things in your house. If I walk in someone's house and I see them having a worship thing of something, I just know that those beings are limited, and I just will keep an arm's length at them and keep it moving. I'm not gonna hurt them. I'm just saying, if any lunars you encounter brown people who don't like themselves, you should keep arm's length, because people who don't like themselves will engross themselves in everything outside of themselves. So if you lunars encounter brown people who have images of everything outside of themselves, they don't like the way they look, they only mate or hang out with people that are opposite of them, it doesn't mean that they're not immunity conscious. It means that they have some low self-esteem. I'm in unity consciousness, but I love myself. So I'm in the position where I like the way I look. I want to replicate with men who look like me, and I want to have children